Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. Along those lines of how challenging the last few years have been with obviously what's been going on in the world, but then too with things like transfer portal and this microwave society has really come into the sports world more than ever before. Culture does seem to be at that buzzword, but the standards, what your program stands for, how you show up is really important. If you want to keep these players, it's impossible to always keep them happy, but keep them in your program and for them to feel the value. What are some of the standards and pillars of your program?
So I have a lot of key terms when it comes to basketball side. We've got 4. We keep it really simple. But on the life side, which, we tend to gravitate and talk more about because I think that's ultimately more important, unbelievably. But I will not bring a kid into my program that can't be around my kids, my own kids, without me around. So when it's a game day and my kids are hanging out in my office, or they're running the hallways, or my son's sitting in the locker room, if they're not smart enough or savvy enough or have enough character to know their language matters, their way they represent, those are things that it's not a, God, we all wish we were John Wooden and had a beautiful triangle and this thing that was mapped out as clear as day, right? It's not that. It is Brian knows, my assistants know, my former players know that if I can't bring my kids around here, or if I've got to go home to my wife and apologize, then you ain't going to be around here long. And how do I define that? Real easily. If I want to be around you, then it works, And if you don't want to be around me, you don't want to hear about all this hokey stuff about being a dad and loving on my kids and all that stuff, then it won't work. And so we just look for integrity. We look for guys that want to be better when they leave here. We look for guys that need help. I need help. I need you to help me. I'm on this thing to hopefully take something from you and go home and go, God, man, I'm feeling good now. I can go home and be better feeling for this. And so it's that simple for us when it comes to the basketball side of it, the integrity, the want to. We want guys that want to be here, not feel like they have to be here, not feel like they just think this place is going to pole vault them to somewhere else, that they want to be here. They want to unpack their bags. They want this place to help them, and they can help and put their fingerprint, put their name on the wall here. And then the basketball side of things is simple. We transition to the basketball side of things. I empower my guys to do 4 things. And if they can't do those 4 things, I don't want them coming to my office saying, hey, why am I not playing, this, that. They got to be able to rebound the ball. If they can't rebound the ball, and I'm talking about like go get it out of your area.
It falls in your hands. I did it.
No, like show some effort, right? Like I want the ball, right? Rebound the ball, okay? And then you got to be able to pass the ball, meaning like not just me and you, thumbs down, flicking it. I'm talking about, do you make the right pass? Are you unselfish enough to know that gets hit 2 in a row? I'm gonna find him and get another one. That it might sound cliche, but you understand the depth in which we're talking about. Can you pass the ball
on time and on target, man? Like that is
on target, exactly. And do you make college passes, or do you make these 2K passes, these passes that never work? That's all encompassed. But see, I'm making it so simple that you and I roll our eyes. But when I talk to a recruit, they're like, they're pausing. Yeah. They're like, Coach, you got like 50 definitions of a pass. I said, man, listen, it's not easy to come in here and say, I do these things. You got to be good at it, right? I mean, passing the ball to the other team does not count. Passing it to your teammates, right? And getting guys open, right? Passing it to a 7-footer down on his ankles does not count. you gotta be able to pass the ball. The third thing is defending the ball. Like, do you have enough pride to know that your guy cannot score? That's not fouling. That's not pressuring his shorts. That's not pretending to keep somebody in front of you. That's none of that. Like, do you have the discipline to guard the basketball? That means a pass away, two passes away, in a good stance, every possession. Not every once in a while. Can you guard without fouling? Can you guard without enticing other teams to have to help you? All that stuff. So those three things. And then the fourth one is, are you in good shape? Does your body language tell me that you could play more? Are you tough enough mentally to know that you've got one extra possession, two extra possessions? Do you look at your teammates when they're talking to you in the game? See, all that stuff to me is defined as conditioning in great shape.
Love
So
that.
when I'm sitting here recruiting you and I say, Matt, it's simple, man. You got four things that you got to take care of in this program. And if you take care of those four things, Matt, then you're going to come to me and you're never going to say, why am I playing more? Because I'm going to say, Matt, you killed it. You can guard the ball. You can rebound the ball. You can move it and defend it. And then now you're in great shape. You should never complain about playing time. And you can only see that I'm empowering you to control your fate. I'm not sitting here saying, well, Brian recruited you, so you're his guy. No, I coach you. You're my guy. You're 6'11". You're 6'3". Because it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how tall you are. If you can control those four things, you realize how hard it would be for me to take you out of the game. Like, I'm trying to win, brother. I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. I'm not trying to win video, streaming contests and who gets the most clicks. I don't care about any of that. I'm terrible at that stuff. Matt Garnett used to get on me all the time. He goes, you got to self-promote better. And I'm like, look at me. I got a face for radio, man. Nobody wants to. I'm not trying to self-promote anything.
Look at me.
I'm lucky my wife wants to see me, let alone all this other stuff. So you can only imagine. So I tell a kid that, hey, you're coming from Texas, A&M, Corpus Christi, whatever. You come from there. All you got to do is four things. That's it. And so we talk about that on the recruiting pitch. And then as time goes on, the depth of it gets bigger and bigger. And the severity of it comes bigger and bigger. And the repercussions. But you know what, Matt? If they get it, they knew that they did it. It wasn't me. It wasn't, we helped them. Right. And so we told them it's that simple, man. It's that simple. Like, you do those four things, you control your output, you control your production. It's not about me anymore. So coach isn't, as we used to say the term, screwing us or getting over on us. It's no, you don't guard because your man goes by you or you foul too much. You don't take care of the ball. You turn it over. Statistically, it's right there. You can't blame somebody else. You don't rebound because every time a shot, half the shots are missed. And you get two a game at playing at 20 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game. So that's on you. And then, of course, every time I see you, you're grabbing your shorts, your body language is bad, your head's down. That's conditioning. You jog back in transition. You jog back in offense. It's conditioning. So we look at it like I'm giving all my tools away here, but we look at it like, man, I'm just completely empowering you, and your outcome becomes yours, not mine. It absolutely becomes yours. So those are our real pillars when it comes to the basketball side of things. But on the personal side of things, I mean, we all know it's a day-to-day checklist on that. So,
Coach, so much gold to unpack right there. The first part, like on the personal side, when you're talking about like the fact that you want players that you can trust around your kids. Like, to me, that's a self-awareness thing. Like TJ Rosine said, self-awareness is a superpower. Like, it's like after all these years of having so many players come in and out of the door, like, you realize that that's really important to you. And I think just the idea of that is huge. How many coaches don't really know? Like, they only focus on the basketball side. Like, I really, as long as he can score, I don't really care about anything else. But that idea of, is this kid, like you said, smart enough, self-aware enough to know who's in the room, what to say, what not to do? I love that pillar, man.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because we all want to win, and none of us are perfect. I mean, my language can get terrible at times, and I tell guys all the time, man, if there's a woman around and I don't recognize it, let me know. If there's something that we're talking about and it gets in my language gets too dicey, please let me know. I need to be aware of it because, like we're a product of our environment. My dad was in the military for 35 years. You can only imagine how I was raised. And those are things that we all adapt and adjust to. But it's hard. I mean, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, not everybody values those things. And so you might see a great student that's a great basketball player, but he comes from a tough environment. So please and thank you don't work for him. He might need to hear a more directive term, but at the end of the day, please and thank you is going to work for his employer. And so we have to understand that as coaches, we have to understand that not every kid is going to value me being a dad the way I value it because he probably didn't have that experience. But my job is to say, hey, this is the way this place operates. You came to us. You didn't live down the street and get district here. You came to play for us. And so you have to understand this is who we are. This is who my assistants are. This is how we value this place. And so hopefully they understand that. And you'd be shocked at how it really is fun because then they become like guardians of my kids in a lot of ways. Like they enjoy seeing them. They ask where I'm at. I might tell a crazy story and they relate to it because they know the kid or they know I always say my wife is very crazy, even though she's super smart, way beyond my skill level. But they always laugh at the fact that they think that I go home to this jungle gym of a house, with 4 kids. So it really is a fun situation because I don't have any. Listen, I'm not getting $1 million bonuses for winning games around here. So we don't have some sort of peace of mind and love and respect around here. It's not much worth it. So
On the other side, with the basketball, I mean, you're kind of selling yourself short a little bit with it is simple, those 4 things, but like you said about as far as empowering, how many times do players go into or coaches tell players, you have to show me. You have to show me what you're made of, or some kind of just vague phrase like that, and I'll put you in the game, like force me to play you. All of those things that you hear,
right.
But then the player really doesn't know what that means or what areas of the game that they have to improve on, or that the coach is looking for. It's the disconnect between player and coach. But those 4 things, man, it's pretty clear. And like you said, it may sound simple, but passing, oh my goodness. Like
it's a nightmare.
You can get deep in that. You get deep in that.
Nobody, I mean, it's as simple as, Matt, if you and I are on the perimeter and I pass it to your inside hand. What are we doing? Again, this is college basketball. This is where you forget the pros. You're not going there. This is where you're supposed to be right now. And you don't have the discipline to pass it on the outside hand when the defender's right there. Like you got to get it to where you can catch it, not get it stolen. It's little things like that. And then I sit back and go, hey, we talked about passing. It might be my job to teach you as a 24-year-old senior, but I mean, come on now. Let's call it what it is. When you told me back in August you wanted to be a pro, and I'm having to teach you to pass it to the outside hand, we probably ought to need to take a step back here.
In your 6th year of college basketball, if I have to,
yeah, like you get discounts at restaurants now, pal. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, you get the discount at Subway now for me. So yeah, it is. It sounds simple and it's easy to talk about, but I'm going to tell you that's kind of how I coach. I can't overcomplex things because I want to be good at the little stuff. As far as we got to have something to hold on to rather than saying, oh, well, we do this and we do that. And then every day we try to reinvent ourselves because in my particular philosophy is I never really tried to outcoach anybody. I want to try to play this game that we do well better than you. And I don't know that it always works. Sometimes it probably bites us in the butt, but I've never tried to. I mean, we all have to make adjustments, right? Every game, every minute of every day. But I think if we're really confident in what we do in this locker room, then we'll have a chance to compete at every level,
Yeah. I definitely buy into the idea of we need to focus on ourselves more than our opponents.
Sure.
It's not about them, it's about us and us doing things better. But obviously with adjustments being a little bit of the art of it in the moment. One thing I loved about your 4 things is that scoring, shooting was not one of them. And so how does that fit in? So you got a player that maybe does those 4 things really well, but golly, we need you to
Matt,
contribute a
how
little
many
bit.
clinics have you and I gone into? And the first thing, and I know you specialize in this, so I think this is great, right? Because we're not going to debate anything. You win. Uh, but how many times have we walked into and a kid tells you that he can score, or a kid tells you that he can shoot it, and the stats don't lie, right? I mean, we know if a kid shoots over 40%, he's got a pretty good clip at three. If he shoots at 50% on the floor, he's taking good shots. He finishes at the rim. He understands shot selection. So we know that. But the problem is that they know that too. And so then I can't debate those things anymore. Like those numbers come out in a wash because every kid can come to me and say, I'm the leading scorer, but our team only won 14 games last year. Dude, you're the leading scorer on a bad team. How many turnovers did you have? How many rebounds? How many extra possessions did you get? Like how many fouls did you average a game because you reached and didn't have any discipline? How many minutes did you play? And within those minutes, the quality of minutes did you play? Because I can see, okay, you played 27 minutes a game, which tells me that you're pretty good shape. But in those 27 minutes, you only got 2 rebounds a game. You averaged 4 turnovers. So I looked at that four things for me, and I said that works for me because I know that I'm teaching effort, and not only am I teaching effort, but I'm rewarding you for doing the things that don't necessarily bounce off a coach's stat sheet like 3-point percentage, scoring, things like that. Because those are the guarantees that I know that I can go to a kid and go, wow, he can really score. But what does he do in the minutes that I find important? Like, is his body language great? After a 7-0 run in a team you give up a 7-0 run. Is your body language good? Are you conditioned to know that you're tough? That everybody's watching the best player when things go bad? That's conditioning to me. That's not necessarily fast running. That's conditioning. That's mental toughness. That's putting yourself in a position to be resistant. And so, yeah, I think shooting's important. We can't go this game without scoring. But until I get to a level, I mean, even what I read today, do you realize that in the NCAA tournament right now, the overall 3-point percentage right now is 31%?
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody's blaming the basketball. Everybody's blaming this, blaming that. We're shooting in arenas with backdrops and but the fact of the matter is what are you and I talking about? 31%. And so for me, I think that's an easy conversation to have. The hard conversation is, why aren't you rebounding more? So you're trying to tell me at a 6'3" guard that you're the number one target to block out? We're missing half the shots. You can't tell me that you don't want it more than them at 6'3" when no one's blocking you out. Run from the other end to this end and go get it. That tells me you want to be in the game. That tells me you want more possessions. That tells me you want to play more. And so I just look at it like that. So I think it's all like my guys think that I'm psychologically twisting them, but I think what I'm doing is giving them the answers to the test and say, if you really want to be that guy, if you really want to be the guy, then go do those four things. It's impossible for me to take you out of the game. And Matt, you know who ends up winning out of that deal? Me. If they go do all that stuff, we win. And then it looks like I know what I'm doing. And then it looks like the program knows what they're doing. And so I just made it so simple for me to talk about that it almost like they go home to mom and dad and they're like, well, coach just told me how I can play. It's going to be that easy. It's not. Because, when you got big players, athletic players, and effort players, then it becomes, am I tough enough to stick with it? Am I tough enough to go out there and hurt? Am I tough enough to play through situations that are uncomfortable? And it really, yes, the shooting thing is easy to me because everybody shoots. I mean, you can walk in my gym right now, there's 5 guys and they're shooting, and no one's working on going and chasing a loose ball rebound. I mean, even in shooting drills, they walk after it. Right? Even when you change baskets, everybody jogs to it, and stuff like that. So I don't know. I have no idea why I don't focus on shooting. I just know the other 4 things seem to make more sense to me than anything else. So that's just probably my crazy way of doing it.
No, Coach, I'll tell you, this is why I love doing this. And, even after almost 2 years now, golly, that's crazy. Almost 2 years now. I still love it and I learn new things all the time. But that really what you just talked about for the last 5-10 minutes was just eye-opening I know you,
right?
But now I really understand. Like, I really understand what I've watched you go through in clinics, why your teams play so hard, why you're able to be successful. And I just had so many light bulb moments right there. And all honestly too,
That's probably my head.
nah,
That probably helps.
it's the blue light. No,
Yeah.
it highlighted, it just highlighted some deficiencies. I think we all have blind spots, and we can't choose to focus on everything.
Sure.
Like, it's really hard to do that. But I choose to focus on probably the lowest hanging fruit out there, which is shooting. But how many times in games am I frustrated not about the 44 3-point attempts we had? I'm frustrated about our lack of rebounding, our lack of effort, maybe a high turnover count. But you get what you emphasize.
Sure.
You get the types of effort plays and wins and style of basketball that, to your own words, makes sense. But man, I'll tell you that I thank you. Like, that was super valuable.
Yeah, and that's why I love doing these stuff. I never bat an eye when somebody asks to call, because it gives me a chance to kind of talk. When you talk out loud, it makes you, am I crazy, or does it make sense? And then you verbalize it, and we all spend our lives talking. But then I knew your deal. I mean, I know you love to shoot it, and the game's going that way. And I always like corrective criticism. Like, maybe you would have said to me, "Well, coach, I mean, in order to rebound it, we got to shoot it. In order to get good pass, you got to have good shooters, or it's going to be 1-on-1." And so those are things that I knew coming into this conversation, that we have a way of blending this together and talking about it. And then, I've listened to dozens of your podcasts, and I take all those things and I listen as I'm walking and doing whatever. But I'll tell you, man, as we all get older as coaches, probably our patient level becomes less and less, because we understand what it takes to work. We understand what it takes to win, and we don't have to overcomplicate things. But I tell you where I stand at is, we deal with so many different kids from so many different coaches, mentors, moms, dads, buddies, this guy, my AAU coach, my guy at corner. And so I have to do what? I've got to bring it all together in a short period of time. It could be 8 months, 2 years, 4 years. And I've got to make it so simple that I get instantaneous results. And so it doesn't have to be all-American results. It just has to be 2 steps forward, not 3 steps back. And so when I figured out a way to communicate this, and it didn't happen overnight, but when I figured out a way to communicate it, I figured out a way that I know I can start it simple, and I can make it more complex as every practice goes on, every game goes on, every day goes on, every year goes on. And so now I look at my 5th-year senior, who had a chance to break the school scoring record this year, but had some injuries and stuff like that. And he couldn't guard anybody when he started. And now he's better. And then he never rebounded, but then he led us in offensive rebounds. It's all those different things. And like, so he started instinctively talking about it. Like, I just said, man, how come we're not doing the 4 things that hold this house together? All of a sudden we got I called it the flat tire this year. Every game we had one of the 4 things that was our flat tire, but they wanted to keep the car on the road. It doesn't work that way, man. You get a flat tire, that thing's either the side of the road or ditch. And so every game we were talking about, okay, we're obviously not in very good shape, so we got to address it. Or we're obviously not rebounding the ball. We got to address it. Y'all want to stay on the road, but you don't do the 4 things. And so I started building this in my head as my program, as my identity. And as simple as it sounds, when I'm talking to a freshman and staring me in the eyes going, it really becomes simple. I mean, because if you just can do those 4 things, you should never come in my office and argue playing time. Matter of fact, if you do those 4 things, you won't ever come in my office. You'll be coaching the practice. You'll be saying, hey, I rebound, you rebound. I pass the ball, you pass the ball. I run, you run. I defend, we all defend. Those type of things. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's for me. I don't know if it ever really translates anywhere else. it's hard to do because you know how hard this game is and how much better these guys are getting, how much bigger and faster and stronger and smarter. And they're training more. They're doing all this different stuff. So the game is so fast and athletic, and that's why it's the best game in the world. But to keep it simple is the only way I operate. As you can see, I mean, I can talk myself out of a room if you let me. I'm all over the place. But that being said, I just try to keep it as simple as possible.
No, I think it's pretty clear. I think it's pretty clear what you're saying. And as a career, over my 4 years at Baylor, I averaged 4.5 points. But I think I would have loved to play for you, because the four things that you're talking about, I had to bring those in order to see the floor at all, because I wasn't big enough or fast enough to score in the Big 12. And so, again, what you're saying, the player in me really, really gets it. Here's a great question for coaches. Maybe this week I get a chance is ask your players, what do you need to do to get on the floor to play? And just leave it open-ended like that. Unfortunately, Coach, I think if I asked my players right there, they would only talk about offense, and they'd mainly talk about shooting. And even though, yeah, that's important, no doubt. I don't know if anybody would say I need to rebound well. I mean, I need to run the floor hard. They would say something like fast basketball. They'd throw that term out, but running a gun, we need to run a gun, but man, I think our players need to know what are the things that will get them on the floor. And golly, Coach, the things that get them on the floor, it better actually lead us to winning.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, I'm not interested in anything other than putting a W in the win column. And so, and I think it's funny because the year we've had has really made me a better coach. And I know my assistant feels the same way. Not only has it made me a better coach, but it's made him a better coach. And I will tell you that if one of my players walked in this locker room right now and I slid out of the picture and you asked them, they would say that verbatim. Like, they have heard it over and over and over because of the year we've had. It never left a conversation, whether it was in practice, whether it was in post-game, whether it was pre-game. We just kept it so simple. And, Matt, the problem is we weren't very good at it. And that's the hardest part. Like, it just became factors in which we couldn't control.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.